Hey everybody, I'm SARA WISEMAN. Today we're talking about why do we practice? And in this case, I think the meaning is spiritual practice and intuitive practice. The purpose of your practice is to give you direct connection with all the divine guides and mentors who work endlessly to guide you to your highest possibility. This is so that you may grow into the consciousness that brings direct knowing, the knowing of all just because you are. And this can sound kind of lofty especially if you haven't really done a lot of practice. You're like, direct knowing, I just want guidance on what I should do for my job or my relationship. So the way that the universe works, or the way that connecting to divine guides and mentors works, is that when you go in, you might have more of a everyday question, or a question that you need for guidance on your current life, your everyday life. Sometimes the householder life is the person that works or the person that's in the world. And you go and you get guidance for that, and then you follow along, hopefully on that track of what you received. And then you start to notice, as this becomes your practice of asking for guidance, receiving guidance, and following the guidance, you notice that your life is starting to get easier and easier. And again, at the beginning, it may not seem this way. At the beginning, everything might seem really hard, and you might have trouble trusting the guidance, or you might, it just might take a lot of false starts to get going on this path. But when you begin this as your practice, this is how you approach life. You don't approach life, I'm gonna work from my rational mind, I'm gonna follow the trends, I'm going to do what other people say, I'm going to make decisions out of my ego, I'm going to make decisions out of my fear. And you let go of that, and you instead say, I'm going to make my decisions from the guidance I receive in my practice, in my spiritual practice. Then everything starts to shift slowly at first, and then this kind of roller coaster of amazing flow that starts to happen once you've been deep into this for a while. There's a little more to say about that. Sometimes as we start these spiritual practices, our lives as we know them will fall apart, and so that's not very easy. It doesn't happen to everyone, but if there are things that need to be let go of, when you begin to connect with the divine, those things will automatically be brought to your attention, and you'll really understand that that's not the path for you, or that's not how you want to continue your life. So this question, why do we practice? We practice so we can have that direct connection. And especially at the beginning, I had a lot of experiences that were so profound, guides coming in, events that seemed kind of so big, they just seemed miraculous or once in a lifetime. And I began to get even a little nervous at the level of intensity, or the level of how beautifully the universe was working, and how the universe was supporting and helping me, which I did not really expect, actually. So at the beginning, I had this feeling of, well, it's too much to do this all the time. If I'm having this huge experience one day from my meditation practice or my connection with the guides, I felt a little nervous even to go back in and connect again the next day, or I felt it would be ill-advised to do too much of this work. And I think that that's actually was an error. I think that I didn't understand that the universe or the guides will sort of give you what you need at exactly the pace that you need it. And so if you are receiving, if you have a daily practice or several times a day practice, and every time it's this amazing thing, that's what you need right now. And if you have a practice where it seems like not that much is going on at the moment, that may be what you need right now. So not trying to second guess or to be in charge of what comes through, just showing up for it. And this idea of what is a practice, a lot of times I'll ask clients or students, what's your spiritual practice, or what do you actually do that works for you? And sometimes it'll be like, yeah, I go for walks in nature. That's really good. I have some reading that I do. That's really good. But they don't sit down and do this grand opening of the heart in meditation process with the guides. They just like, I don't do that, or I don't know how to do that, or I used to do that. And so when we fall away from a daily practice, at the very least, I mean, obviously we mostly want to be continually in this communion with the divine, but when we don't have a formal daily practice, we get rusty. We lose our ability to see clearly all of the stuff that's coming in, or we lose our ability to see and identify clearly all the synchronicities that the divine may be sending to us. We just kind of miss them because we've got our minds in other places. Now, the last piece for this is, when I say formal practice, I don't mean you have to have a special cushion. I mean, you could, if you like that, I think it's great, but you don't have to. You don't have to have an altar. You don't have to light incense. You don't have to light a candle. You don't have to have crystals. You don't need to sit in a certain position. You can do all those things. And a lot of people really love the ritual of it, or the comfort of doing these sort of beautiful rituals. I think it's great. For me, I just have a little chair. Actually, I can probably just show you. There it is, my little chair by my bookshelf. And I just go in the chair, I sit, I become quiet. I go do my practice of going up to with the guides. And then I just stay there until I'm done. And it might be 15 minutes. Sometimes it's like an hour. I'm just like, here I am. It's all coming through. And I tend to do this several times a day. If I can't be at this chair, I might be in a parking lot somewhere in the car, just having that moment, or in a park or something. I just have that moment of connecting in. But this idea of being available to the divine is the most important part. Because if we don't have the practice, then we aren't doing the opening. And so this direct connection can't come through, or it can come through, but it's much harder for both the divine to come in and for us to pay attention long enough to receive the information. See what happens if you start your own practice, or if you recommit to your own practice, and just kind of notice how different things become when you do this. We practice so we can have more clear connection. We practice so that we're opening our windows so that they can come to us and we can go to them. We practice because this helps us move along on our soul growth. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.